Hey, so my name is Matt Hines. I am a musician, saxophonist, producer, I guess now a filmmaker. I am actually on the way to a gig right now, and I figured I'd call this series Hinesight. And it's just going to be a series of vlogs of me driving to gigs and talking through some topics that I find interesting. Because the reality of my current job as a full-time working musician is I spend a lot of time in the car traveling constantly. What people don't tell you when you when you become a full-time working musician is this is the hardest part, is the traveling bit. It's not the gig. The gig is normally pretty straightforward. It's the fun part as well. So for the next 12 months, my goal is to become a remote working artist and musician, which in turn, I guess, would be me also being a remote working producer and filmmaker and I guess content creator, all those things. Purely because as much as I love gigging, my priorities have changed. I do want to be at home more. I've done this thing for over 15 years professionally, 20 years unprofessionally, or say an extra 5 years unprofessionally when I started gigging like in school and doing art exhibitions and charity gigs and all that sort of stuff. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what the reality is of being a musician in 2025. A full-time musician, by the way. I don't have any other jobs. I perform for a living. I play saxophone for a living, specifically alto saxophone. And I do own a tenor. I did own a soprano, but that's kind of gone out the window. But yeah, the thing I wanted to talk about is if you are a musician or artist or producer, I would say now, I can almost guarantee anyone that you ask that is one of those things is no longer just that thing. Like, they're no longer just a musician or just a producer or just an artist. They are doing so many different things, wearing so many different hats. And I completely feel like this has been a big shift since I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I feel like there's been a big shift because you're no longer just a musician, you're a musician and you're technically a content creator now. And if you're a content creator, you're probably now producing stuff as well. And you're script writing and you're a creative director because you're thinking about what you're going to wear in your next video. And you're also thinking, oh, maybe I should do this song or flip this song or do this. And there's like so many different skills required now, including the financial side. You know, if you're managing your own accounts, if you're trying to invest in things whilst saving the money from gigs and stuff. I just feel as if the whole world has made this big shift into the digital era. Musicians and artists and creatives are now, I wouldn't say left behind, but are now almost have to adapt in order to stay relevant, perhaps is the right word. And I feel like having a social media account in any one of them, by the way, is the bare minimum. Like, you've got to have one. If you want to get booked, you got to have something that shows your metrics or at least shows who you are. Like, even if you don't have a lot of followers, you know. And this never used to be the thing. Back, 10 years ago, it wasn't such a thing, you know. Maybe you had a website or maybe it's just word of mouth, you know. If someone could vouch for you, cool. You're good. You got the gig. It's different now. And I want to know how people are finding this, you know, because like my goal is to work remotely. So I know and I can accept that a lot of my life is going to be this thing, like what I'm doing right now, like filming, you know, and recording good content and thinking of good content and also making quality music and quality visuals and quality stories, you know? And I do feel as if anyone that maybe doesn't have the same goal and isn't looking to do that much remote work still has to be on top of their social media and the whole digital side of things. So I'd love to know what or how people are kind of dealing with that, because a lot of the times that I see or have spoken to musicians, it's the first thing that comes up. Well, at the start of a conversation, it's kind of like, oh man, I need to get better at my socials. I need to make better content. I need to da 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 da. And yeah, I just feel like it's become a real thing. I don't know if it helps me talking about like my current system, because I've only just come to decide like this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this thing. This is me doing the thing, because the excuses of, oh, I'm gigging a lot this week. I've got like 4 gigs this week, and hardly any days rest, and then I've got like a family thing and whatever. This is me being like, right, I'm putting my foot down. I'm not going to make my life work around content. I'm going to make content fit into my life in the way that my life flows. This is one of the ways that I could do it. Like, like any kind of habit. So one of my systems is to film a long form every week. The weeks that are gig heavy, I do something like this, where I'm just kind of talking and discussing like an interesting topic. Well, what I find interesting. And then the weeks where I'm not gigging as much, I'm going to be scripting a little bit more, creating a shot list, maybe even working towards like digital products that I can release, songs that I'm writing, all the good stuff, the art, the actual art bit that I do love doing. But I feel like I have to document things because I feel like the pressure of creating content is real. Like, I feel like I'm not the only one that feels like when I'm not doing enough, gigging like, or feeling, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty successful in terms of the amount of work that I've got. But even though I've got that, if I want to grow further, if I want to grow beyond the ceiling of gigs in terms of the financial side, I feel like I have to commit more to the content side. And especially if I want to change my whole career from performing every night and getting home at, past 1 a.m. And I want to be like on more of a routine, where I'm working daily in a studio. I feel as if this is the thing that I need to do. But yeah, that's kind of the reality. I feel like a lot of the world in terms of like cost of living has gone up, but the actual rate of pay for musicians has kind of stayed the same, So there's nothing wrong with working like 2 jobs, you know what I mean? But if you're a full-time working musician or artist, I'd love to know what your experience is. Have you felt this shift? What's it been like for you, Because for me, it's definitely not easy. I'm not like complaining, but I know that the decision that I've had to make is I need to switch things up, and I know that the world is just going to keep going, and if you don't adapt, you do get left behind. But again, what is your goal? If your goal is to just get more gigs, then it's definitely possible to do that without social media, I would say. Sometimes that just, oh, I've just arrived at the gig, by the way. That says the venue right there. That is totally possible by word of mouth. You know the right people, you stay around like the right group of people, your name gets tossed around. If you're good on your instrument, you 100% will get work. But yeah, I think it's definitely one of those things where I've been feeling like there's been a massive shift, and um, I've changed my goals for this year. I know what kind of lifestyle I want. So yeah, let me know what your experiences is like, and what your reality is of working as a musician or artist full time in 2025, because I'd love to know. And this will probably be like uh, an alternative thing where I like alternate between gig vlogs, production, songwriting, and short films, art really. But yeah, let me know what you think is kind of an interesting thing about being in the creative industry in 2025, and how what your system is, and what your reality is like. But yeah, this has been me out of my comfort zone, and I'm just going to post it as it is, because this is more of me documenting the process. So anyway, I've got sound check, and yeah, see you on the next one. Peace.